Hi guys, welcome back. It's Tommy and returning here after a very long break, given the fact that there were some issues with my internet provider for around 2 weeks. But yeah, now I'm back once again into casting. I'm going to be trying to be as active as possible, and a very interesting game we have here in between the two pro players. I believe MUCHOPICANTE here, the Zerg, is also a South Korean player who is spawning here in the upper right as the purple Zerg, and his opponent here in the lower right in the orange. It is of course Flash with his AK, with his barcode and the W behind. And yeah, there's also a small hint from the thumbnail. We are going to be seeing of course the Zerg go for some queens versus a mech Terran. Let's see if this is going to work out. Of course the queens would be a great counter towards all of the mech units from the Terran. And is it going to be a switch from Flash perhaps into Bio, perhaps into more stronger units like some battle cruisers? It's going to be very interesting to see him go finally for some battle cruisers like he has shown us, and I believe one replay from this channel. So of course we do have once again the production tab here in the upper left part. We're going to be checking out the build orders of the two pro players, as a very lucky scout is happening here for the Zerg, who is moving straight forward towards the main base from Flash, and at the same time a pretty standard opener here for the Zerg. Second overload into some drones, and then he decides to go for his expansion. Also interesting position here for Flash with his supply depot, with his barracks. He's deciding to close the gap here a little bit, perhaps to block any early aggression by the Zerg. We also have a very early gas by him, so this could be a very fast switch into mech. Let's see if this is indeed going to be the tactic from Flash. And yeah, the game continues. There we have the expansion. We're going to be seeing, of course, if it's going to be a second expansion very soon, I believe around the 3-minute mark. Either that or the Zerg is going to be going for a tier 2 upgrade towards Mutalisk. Either Mutalisk or Lurkers could also be a nice and interesting idea here for the Zerg versus the Terran. There we have the spawning pool. Gas is also already very early getting mined here by the Zerg, so we might see him go for some fast Mutalisk gameplay as the scouting continues. And of course Flash moving out, I believe around the 1 minute and 50-second mark, making the here forward towards the main from the Zerg. And of course he's going to try to stay as much as he can. He saw the tier 2 upgrade, so he will be of course expecting a spire by the Zerg, as this SCV is of course going to try to stay as much as he can here. But the first Zerglings are also getting reduced here by the Zerg, and no intentions for him to go into another expansion. The same can be said here for Flash. He's also not deciding to go for a fast expansion, playing more defensively and going for his first Vulture and a double prize here, double starport here for Flash. To see what his plans are. It could be Wraith for him, it could be also Valkyries, might be science vessels later on, but I think it's going to be mass Wraith for him early on. So quite a aggressive and a nice abusive gameplay here by Flash versus the Zerg. I believe his main intention is of course going to try to attack the economy from the opponent, try to snipe as many drones as he can, as the first Vulture is now out onto the map. But we do have a sunken here, so the Zerg should of course be fine versus the early aggressive move out here by Flash. And yeah, we do indeed see double Wraith open up here for Flash, as we also see the spire from the Zerg. Quite a late spire. I believe the first Wraith, 2 Wraiths will of course be already out here into the main from the Zerg. And yeah, let's just see how the Zerg is going to continue to react towards this early aggression. Of course he has no idea. He's trying to move here forward with the Zerg. A very lucky scout by him. Now he finally knows what exactly is happening. So I believe he's going to transition straight into a Scourge gameplay first, then the Mutalisk. So quite a mistake here by Flash, uplifting this barracks, and a very lucky scout here by the Zerg. Seeing the first 2 Wraiths, he's actually going for a Hydralisk then, so no air units yet here for the Zerg. His defense is going to be very likely mass Hydralisk. Actually the spire has not been finished yet, so no possibility here for him yet to go for some units. Let's see what those Wraiths are going to be doing. Some spores might also be a good idea here for the Zerg, as income the first Wraith. 1 drone is about to get sniped. The second one also might be targeted very soon, and there it is. A very good gameplay here early on. A very nice abusement here by Flash. 3 drones have already been sniped. as the first Hydroisk are of course hatching now in order to give protection towards the drones. There's going to be 4 Wraiths very soon here for Flash as he's moving forward now, finally either sniping some drones, either sniping some overlords. A very good tactic here by him early on. And yeah, reinforcements are moving forward here for him as he's still patrolling here the map, still trying of course to snipe as many units as he can. And a good defense here by the Zerg with Scourges, with Hydroisk. See the overlord pretty much exposed. Of course speed has not been done, he just needs to be careful against the Scourge. A very good micro here by Flash as the overlord might get snapped now very soon, and even a greater micro here by him sniping a Scourge, forgetting perhaps about this one lucky overlord, just trying to inflict as much damage as possible. Mutalisk also in the air, but now we do have Cloak, so he should of course be able to snap this one overlord. There it is. Second overlord might get snapped too, so the Zerg is going to be pretty much invisible. He's going to be pretty much be blind here against the great micro here by Flash, and very abusive gameplay here by him, sniping unit after unit. Sadly here for the Zerg, not really making any good connection with his Mutalisk, taking more and more damage. Finally some good shots here by the Zerg, but more and more units are getting sniped here by Flash. So very nice gameplay here by him early on. Finally he is taking some damage, but of course he can return back home to repair his units. Finally speed has been done for the overlords, and now the Mutalisk will be engaging here forward against all of those Wraiths, getting some good connections, sniping some units here, and finally Flash dropping into only 2 more Wraiths after Mutalisk have nicely engaged here this abusive gameplay. But damage has already been done, quite great damage here by Flash as he's now returning home. And remember, it's only a 1-base Terran versus a 2-base Zerg. Perhaps soon it's going to be a 3-base Zerg. Now, of course, the Zerg is going to try to respond as fast as he can, as good as he can, to inflict damage towards the economy as well. And Flash looking like he's still going to be producing Wraiths here for him. No production here for the Zerg. Interesting enough, his economy has quite suffered here a little bit. He's at only 19 workers versus the 31 from Flash. I slowly but steadily return towards the 10-minute mark. So very interesting early game we have here, with a quite outstanding tactic here by Flash with mass Wraiths. And now I believe we might see a transition into some Marines with upgrades and a little bit of a more defensive gameplay here by Flash, as lots and lots of Mutalisk are moving here forward for the Zerg. Let's have a look at the reaction from Flash. He might go into some science vessel with Irradiance. A very good tactic by him. Turrets are online, the Marines have been sniped. Still Flash is holding the position, not allowing those Mutalisks to move forward towards the expansion point. Good early gameplay, but the Zerg now finally responding very good as well into sniping more and more SCVs from the opponent, trying to inflict some much damage, trying of course at the same time to keep Flash at home, not allow him to move out with his units, with his Valkyries, or with his Wraiths. And yeah, in order to defend his economy as well. There are no spores at home, just a couple of Hydras and some Scourges, so good damage has been done here by Flash early on versus the Zerg, but nicely a good recovery here by the Zerg, who is now at 22 workers, and Flash still deciding to remain at his 1 base. I believe this could be his second expansion. Yeah, there it is. Finally he's going into a expansion after what, of course, quite a late expansion here for him. But of course, due to his tactics, he is being forced now to go into a more macro-oriented game with more need of minerals and gas. Yeah, let's see how the game is going to continue. The Zerg is attacking here, but at the same time we do see a movement here by the Terran, and of course the Zerg is sensing this. His main base, I believe, was quite exposed, just a couple of Hydroisk here defending, but now all of those drones are pretty much exposed, so of course the Zerg has to come back to defend, but damage will already be taken here by him, as 5 workers have been snapped, 20 workers remaining here for him, and now finally some overlords are moving here forward, and this could actually be quite deadly versus Flash, as Flash is losing Wraith after Wraith. So after dealing good amounts of damage towards the economy, he is now suffering, of course, great shots by the Zerg. So good defense in the end by the Zerg, pushing back, Flash responding very good against the abusive gameplay. still having some overloads here. Perhaps a drop attempt could also be very interesting with some Zerglings. Let's see how many Mutalisks are being left here for the Zerg. Quite a large amount of Mutalisks, and there is the response here by Flash. Of course, it's going to be Valkyries versus the sheer mass of Mutalisks here from the opponent. In the end, only a couple of Wraiths have been left, 3 of them, and now Flash needs to secure, of course, his expansion. This is why, of course, he went towards those Valkyries. In the end, a balanced game. The Zerg responding nicely, but now we finally see a great attack here by Flash once again happening. No defenses here, sadly, for the Zerg, as Cloak could also be used here by him, but a great reaction with some upgrades for the drones. Burrow has been used as the Mutalisks are once again chasing those Wraiths away. And yeah, Flash should of course be able to defend his expansion here very, very nicely with his Valkyries. In the end, I believe he's going to abandon those Wraiths right here. He could of course Cloak, but in the end some overlords would have been ready here for the opponent. What a interesting early game we have here. In the end, I believe Flash was able to deal more damage towards the economy from his opponent, and with that having perhaps a smaller advantage here versus him, as we now see some Hydras moving forward. We might see some Lurkers. There is not that much detection actually here for Flash, only some turrets in the back, so this spot right here could be perfect for some Lurkers to deal damage. Of course, we might also see a drop happening here with some Overlords, as there's detection here from the Terran. But yeah, 2 Lurkers early on could deal massive amounts of splash damage. As in comes the attack, still a very healthy and a strong number of Mutalisks here for him, and there we have indeed the Lurkers that are moving forward. So quite a great mix here by the Zerg. Mutalisks with Lurkers, with Hydralisk, and good damage being dealt here. Sadly here for Flash, not that many defenses at home, but great splash damage with 4 Wraiths, 4 Valkyries actually here for him, as the defenses look very, very strong in the air. Not that many turrets for him, actually double bunkers being chosen here for Flash with a tank. So all of a sudden a very defensive gameplay here by him, as the Zerg is now moving forward. Even after suffering so many losses towards his economy, his numbers still look great, as he might try to launch a full-on scale attack, but there are so many Valkyries in the air securing the air, as slowly but steadily we turn towards the 20-minute mark. So quite an interesting game we have here, and all of a sudden the Zerg nicely coming back into the game, having great map awareness, great map control, as he is also taking here the 12 o'clock position. And yeah, now Flash with almost 50 workers versus the 34 from the opponent. Let's just see if there's going to be a tier 3 upgrade by the Zerg, what exactly his plans are, what exactly his next move, or the Mutalisk try force to find a good connection perhaps into this location. He might be able to snipe the other expansion here for Flash as he's moving forward, so the SCV might get sniped very soon. Second SCV as well, even the upgrade could be sniped here if the Zerg is aggressive moving forward. This could have been a great snipe against a tier 1 upgrade for mech. At the same time we also see some upgrades here for the Zerg, and the Valkyries now nicely responding against those Mutalisks, dealing great amount of splash damage, so keeping the Zerg at bay, keeping him away from the base, from the Terran. In the meantime, the Zerg looks like he's pretty much gaining more and more of a map control, so he might just try to stay close towards the base from the Terran, and they just pretty much expand all over the map, and in the end having of course much more supply and much more of an economic advantage. A little bit of a mismicro here with those drones. He might take even the middle of the map, but I believe in the end he is of course going to take the upper left part, so trying to stay of course as far away as possible from the Terran, keep the Terran at bay. But we did saw the expansion here from Flash, and yeah, the Zerg nicely reacting with some Lurkers here in order to take control of this zone, not allowing the Terran, or of course trying to buy as much time as he can versus the expansion from the Terran. Interesting move out here by Flash with his Valkyries, quite risky, pretty much exposed, but in the end so much splash damage being taken here. He does have, I believe, around 7, so I was thinking out 4. A little bit of a mismicro here by him, but in the end he might try to come back here. Sadly here for Flash, he might lose his command center So a little bit of a mistake by him, but he is going to respond very nicely with all of those Valkyries in the air. So good damage has been taken here by the Zerg, but sadly here for Flash, he did lose the command center, so he has to rebuild it at home, or perhaps even try to rebuild it here. But the Zerg, of course, nicely buying more and more time with his lurkers into this location. So very smart gameplay here by the Zerg. However, a strong response here by Flash with his Valkyries, which are getting repaired now. And in the end, it looks indeed like the Zerg is pretty much going to expand all over the map. So Flash has to hurry up. There's going to be so many hatcheries massively producing units, and he might even try to go for some ultra risk with some Zerglings. Zergling upgrades with adrenaline, with weapons upgrades, and carry plays very strong into the late game. And let's not forget that Defilers, of course, a must, and let's not forget that it's going to be also Queens. So Queens, the good counter versus the tanks onto the ground. So yeah, the 60-minute has been passed. We are, like I told you, slowly but steadily turning towards the 20-minute mark. A great map control indeed here by the Zerg, and Flash, of course, tries to counter this with massive amounts of Valkyries that are moving out here onto the map. Same time, more and more Hydralisks onto the map, so we might even see some lurkers. A lurker drop could be a very wise decision here by the Zerg. So quite exposed area here by Flash, as some vultures sadly here for him, not really making it forward towards the expansion. So this group of Hydralisks should of course be carefully watched. There's an overlord here, so a great move would even be a drop with 4 Hydralisks into this location just to try to cause as much chaos as he can. As once again he's moving forward, and he's going to be quite surprised to see so many units here out for the Zerg. So saw the Queens, I believe, saw the Hydralisk. Quite a scary mix of units here for the Zerg. So let's have a look at the response from Flash. Of course, he's going to try to snipe as many overlords as he can just to keep the Zerg supply blocked. Yeah, just trying to buy as much time as he can. In the meantime, more and more Hydralisks are moving here forward. He just needs a couple of overlords to do a very strong drop into this location right here, if you ask me. And yeah, the Valkyries are still patrolling here the map, but we do see Queens now into the air, and I believe that was a ensnare or a, I don't know exactly how it's called. Yeah, there it is. Perhaps a infested, no, it's a parasite. So it's a parasite, and the Zerg has now vision of this unit right here. A very interesting spell. A parasite has been casted towards this one Valkyrie, but it's actually getting sniped here. So Flash perhaps suiciding this one Valkyrie, and just tries to, of course, to snipe as many overlords as he can. Perhaps he's going to be lucky here. He just needs to be careful against those scourges. Great micro here by him. In the end, some scourges have taken a good connection, and now a nice cat and mouse gameplay here by the both players. Still a great micro. The scourge is not really getting all of those connections, and now once again the overlords are going to be targeted here by Flash. He really wants to keep the Zerg supply blocked, but he's also taking quite some damage. At the same time, he's also buying time for his expansion into this location right here, securing it with the tanks. And yeah, in the end, a nice mech gameplay here. All of a sudden, a transition into straight mech from Flash, but how exactly is he going to react against so many Queens, and actually even so many Hydralisks onto the ground? This group right here still ready perhaps to do a drop into this location right here, and more units are getting produced here by the Zerg as he's taking another expansion into this location. So in the meantime, we actually see Flash move out here versus the Zerg. I believe he's going to try to secure the middle of the map, even trying to take the expansion. Let's see if he's going to be successful. In the meantime, the Zerg also taking this expansion right here, as Flash slowly but steadily moving here out onto the map. Small groups of Hydralisks are waiting here for him. Sadly here for the Zerg, he's not paying attention. Hydralisks will immediately be obliterated by weapons 2 upgrades, tanks, and 2-to-1 upgrades here for the Zerg. And the question is Flash actually going to move forward towards the expansion point? Still, those drones are into a bad rally, and we actually see the perfect counter here for the Zerg versus the tanks, and still lots and lots of Hydralisks are being left here behind, getting killed by those tanks. So slowly but steadily Flash is moving forward, but remember there's so many Queens into the air from the opponent. Even the vultures will be able to take some good connections here. The tanks will of course be the real damage dealers as now there's lots and lots of hydralisks. They will be able to take out perhaps a tank or two, but in the end those tanks really scare the Zerg. Sadly for him, forgetting about these units right here, just leaving them on patrol. And yeah, slowly but steadily the Terran is now moving forward, gaining more and more map control. I believe his first target is going to be very likely this expansion right here, and perhaps then the tier 2, the tier 3 upgrade here actually for him, going to be a very important target. And there we have the reaction by Flash. It's going to be turrets, of course, to scare the queens away, do not allow the queens to get some good connections, and even the Valkyries in the air have to, of course, secure the zone from the tanks. In the meantime, we do have a small counter attack here by the Zerg, who's going to try to do a surround maneuver, but sadly for him he has no detection, so the mines are going to be getting some good connections here. So the Zerg really needs some detectors early on, as the middle of the map is now pretty much in control for Flash, with his turrets, with his Valkyries into the air, nicely patrolling here the map. And now we even have Goliaths for him. So let's see what the answer from the Zerg is going to be, as there's so much anti-air actually here for Flash. Sadly for him, bad rally still continues. He's moving forward, he's getting some good control here, securing the movement out here by Flash, but at the same time he's also losing some units, so he needs to be more careful, as Flash is now slowly but steadily closing here forward towards the expansion point, dealing more and more splash damage, securing his units with the Valkyries in the air. 5 of them, I believe, of course, should be, of course, a great counter towards all of those queens, and already dealing some good splash damage. The queens are really fast, but I believe the Valkyries are even faster, and we do see the turrets onto the ground, giving great protection towards all of the units here from Flash. And a nice sim city has been created with all of those turrets, making it really hard for the Hydras to move here forward. And a good split here by Flash, leaving some units behind in order to secure the reinforcements here for him. At the same time, some Goliaths moving here forward, but the real damage dealers there are the queens, getting some good connections with some scourges onto the ground versus the tanks. And now he's not having so much mana being left here for him, so the Valkyries are going to be getting some good connections here. Sadly here for the Zerg, he is not really microing those queens out of danger, so Flash getting some good connections. Sadly here for the Zerg, quite a mistake, very hard mistake by him, losing all of those queens, and now even losing some overlords here, as he's now finally being able to take some good shots towards those Valkyries. But in the end, his expansion has been lost here. Flash is now pretty much moving forward straight towards the tier 3. I believe he now can even afford to lose those Valkyries, as Plague has been casted and they need to be repaired very soon. Another great Plague here by the Zerg. Sadly for him, not reacting very well with those queens, perhaps understanding that Flash now has the upper hand, perhaps giving up a little bit. We do have a movement here forward with some queens. Perhaps he tried an infested Terran move, but in the end Flash is now moving forward. The tier 3 is going to fall, so 2 bases already have been lost here for the Zerg, as the attack continues here for Flash, and even securing another expansion point into this location. So quite a strong move out here by him, securing the mech with the Valkyries. I believe the Valkyries were the real important units here for Flash, with a very interesting move early on with those Wraiths, dealing good amount of damage towards the economy. And yeah, let's just see what the Zerg has to offer. He still has a large amount of supply versus the opponent. Finally income the queens once again, but a little bit of a miss rally by the Zerg, sacrificing some of them. Yeah, perhaps trying to inflict more damage, but in the end some mistakes have been done here by the Zerg, as the march continues here forward towards, with Flash, with his tanks, towards the new target. Not that much energy actually being left. Finally the queens will get microed out of danger. There are some defenses here, but as you can see on the minimap, so much reinforcements are pulling here for Flash forward. And we actually see, I believe this is a GG. I don't know exactly what this means. Perhaps it's his name. Maybe he just told him his real name from his AKA MUCHOPICANTE from Spain. So yeah, very nice nickname. Also Jdong going for La Dolce Vita, Italian name. Perhaps this is Jdong with a Spanish nickname, who knows. But yeah, in the end, quite an interesting game we have here. quite an early aggressive and interesting move out here by Flash with those Valkyrie, with those Wraiths, inflicting good damage towards the Zerg, but the Zerg nicely coming back into the game, inflicting damage with the Mutalisk. Perhaps mass Mutalisk would have been a better answer, but he did try those Queens. Queens are very good versus the tanks, of course, on the ground, but in the end those Valkyries in the air were able to give great support towards the mech units from Flash, and in the end he was able to take out, I believe, also a South Korean pro who has revealed his real name, I believe, at the end of the game, and then follow up, of course, with a GG. So quite an interesting game we have here in between the two pros. Finally something out of the ordinary. I believe I also casted a Flash game versus another Korean, which don't quite remember his name right now. I believe it was Hyun, who also went for some queens, but then Hyun also played very, very well and actually showed that queens are a good decision versus a Terran. Even though Flash played very, very nicely with turrets and Goliaths, in the end I believe Hyun was able to take the game with queen gameplay, with Mutalisk, and with some Scourge gameplay as well with Lurkers. So yeah, a very interesting strategy by both players, quite of the ordinary. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like I told you, I'm going to try to be as active as possible, as the internet once again is working for me. So yeah, after a 2-week, I believe even a 3-week break, I'm going to be trying to be, of course, once again as active as possible for you guys. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. This is Tommy signing out.